The first 4 books don't ever almost mention the word forget. And all of a sudden, Moses' speech comes, book of Deuteronomy. 15 times, Moses talks about don't forget, don't forget, don't think that the power in your might. You better remember God. Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget Egypt. Don't forget Amalek. Don't forget Sinai. Just don't forget. Don't forget the evil in this world. It's like you're going to be entering into the land of Israel, and life is going to be good. But in that goodness, don't get fattened up and lazy and ungrateful and forgetful, or else destruction is right around the corner. What's the cure there? Think about this. Someone sent me this meme, and it really sums up the human condition that the book of Deuteronomy warns against. And I feel like it sums up what's happening right now in Europe and the United States. Like, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. That's a pattern in time. That's a pattern for all people. Moses is talking exactly about that. It's like, you guys have fought through Egypt. You've fought through wars. You've traveled through the desert. You are an amazing, like one generation had to die off, but this generation, you are ready to go into the land of Israel. But the next generation, don't forget. What are we going to do? It almost seems like a formula. It's like inevitable that people are going to get ruined by their own success. They're going to get rich, and eventually they're going to forget about God. And if you look at the modern world and modern history, every single country, the more it prospers, the more it forgets about God, the more secular it becomes. America was started off with such strong biblical roots, such strong biblical values. That's what brought the blessing into America. That's how it became the most prosperous of all times, because it was built on godly ideas. And, what are you going to do? The more prosperous every nation has become, the more it forgets about God. But there is one exception. That one exception is Israel. Thank God. It's like modern Israel began as almost an entirely secular movement. And over the years, as we're becoming more prosperous, we're becoming stronger spiritually. It's become a more religious country, a more values-centered country. Our birth rate is going up. Perhaps the old guidance of the Torah has finally seeped into the hearts of Israel. But think about what's happening in the Western world today. Where did this spirit of entitlement that is sweeping the country come from? It's like a generation that's like this socialist desire to get everything for free as they're burning the cities to the ground. What is that? The most powerful and prosperous country the world has ever seen. The country that has given more opportunities to minorities to succeed than any other country that I'm familiar with, that saw a black president elected twice for 8 years, is now imploding. And it's not imploding because of racism. Moshe warned that a society that forgets God will destroy itself. It will bring curses upon itself. God isn't destroying America now. America is literally unraveling itself. God did not destroy ancient Israel. Ancient Israel forgot and destroyed herself. What's the cure? What is the cure to this ailment? It's gratitude. We can become super successful, but if we recognize where the success comes from, we acknowledge the truth, we can live in a state of gratitude. And that will always create a society that wants to give back. That's actually the key to the word modeh. The word modeh doesn't only mean thanks. The word modeh, it's so deep. The word modeh also means to acknowledge. It means to admit. Like, I admit to this reality. I'm not the successful one here. I admit that my success comes. I acknowledge the source of where the success comes from. Who gave us that success? Who gave us the inspiration to invent all the innovations that Israel is built upon, whether it be the Iron Dome that Ari talked about, or whether it be the drip irrigation that allowed the desert to blossom? Acknowledge the source of that inspiration, the source of our success. And then what does that do? It creates a sense of gratitude. And then gratitude turns into indebtedness. And you know what? I want to give back to Israel. I want to serve in the military. I want to help my country succeed because I believe that this country is more than just me. I mean, that's true nationally, It's true individually. A life of gratitude generates the best emotional vibrations for us to live. It opens us to experience more happiness, more love in our lives. That gratitude that turns into indebtedness, that sensation, that inner calling that calls us to give back. How do we give back? We have the mitzvot. Take care of the orphan, help the weak, bring hope to the downtrodden, alleviate the suffering of others, love your fellow as yourself. You want to give back? The greatest rule, the greatest mitzvah, love your fellow as yourself. Bring more love into the world. How do we do that? If we're so busy thinking about ourselves and what we do and what we need and we're entitled to this, there's no room for love. It's like gratitude actually opens us up for the highest level mitzvah. And so, you know you're living powerfully. You're living as an image of God when you're not only looking to receive, but you want to give. In our essence, we are on the top of our game when we want to give back, when we want to be a blessing to our families, to our loved ones, to the world, when we want to go to our wives and not look at her like, what has she done for me lately? It's like, oh my goodness, what can I do to help her? What can I do to lift her up? What can I do to make this world better? I want to give back. That's when you know you're on the top of your game. That's when you know you're in tune. That's when you know you're being filled with power. Gratitude is that foundation. That is what it means to live with the spirit of the Bible. Gratitude is the key. That needs to be the engine that drives our life. People operate from two engines, generally: fear and desire. We're either scared about something, so we're going to go do that, or we really want something and we're going to go after it. And so the goal is to live in this world and act not out of fear, but out of a desire to give back and be a blessing to the world. If we're feeling feelings of gratitude, you can know that you are tuning into the essence of a Jew, to the essence of Judea, to the heart of the land of Israel. It's like the spiritual foundations to live a life of blessing that will bring blessing to everyone around you. Somehow it's like gratitude opens us up. It's like when we're feeling this, we're closed. Gratitude is somehow like an opening. It's like an opening to receive, but it's also an opening to give. It's the way that we can actually manifest love in the world. And that is what our next and last session will be about. The greatest of all mitzvahs, to love your neighbor as yourself, the 11th commandment. And in 2 weeks, after this week and the next week, we're going to start our journey toward the new year, preparing for the biblical feast.